The throne room of the Galactic Empire shimmered like a frozen cathedral, every wall carved from translucent stone that caught and scattered light into spectral shards. 1,000 alien eyes watched the human woman step forward, alone, unarmed, carrying nothing but a steaming porcelain teacup. Her uniform was black and understated, its only ornament a silver insignia of Earth's faded crest. General Alara Voss paused halfway down the hall, her boots clicking against crystal, her gaze calm, almost warm. Behind the glassy dais sat Emperor Jantrum, his scaled hands folded on his throne, his voice like rusted iron scraping marble. "You were summoned," he said, "to explain humanity's aggression on the southern rim." Alara smiled gently, setting her cup down on the floor as if the galaxy itself could wait for her tea to cool. "Aggression is such an unflattering word, Your Majesty. We prefer assertive boundary maintenance. My apologies if our patrols caused a misunderstanding." Whispers rippled through the chamber, hissing, clicking, fluttering. Some laughed. Others leaned forward, watching her every move. The Emperor's crest flared blue with amusement. "You are bold, human." "I was raised to be polite first," she said softly, "and dangerous only when needed." A smaller figure, a six-limbed archivist named Seltef, scribbled notes on a holographic slate. He had studied human history for decades and still found them inexplicable. "Forgive my curiosity, General," he chirped nervously, "but is it true you were mentored by the Baba Yaga?" Alara tilted her head, eyes narrowing with something that could have been nostalgia or warning. "Mentored is a polite word," she said. "She fed me stories with my breakfast, fear with my bedtime tea. She taught me how kindness can sharpen into a blade." She smiled faintly. "We called it parenting." Uneasy laughter rippled again. Emperor Jantrum's tail tapped the dais. "This Baba Yaga, an Earth legend of murder. Humanity breeds soldiers from myths now." "Not soldiers," she replied. "Students." He chuckled, and the sound was wet and cruel. "Then consider this your final lesson. Your fleets have trespassed upon imperial space. You will withdraw, kneel, and offer reparations." Alara bent slightly to retrieve her teacup. Steam drifted between them like smoke before a gunfight. "Your Majesty," she said, her tone still smooth, "on Earth, when someone invites you to kneel, it's either a proposal or an ambush. You don't seem the romantic type." The court erupted in offended noise. Guards stepped forward, weapons humming. Alara didn't flinch. She merely exhaled, the faintest tremor of amusement ghosting her lips. Somewhere in the rafters, her ship's AI, Orpheus, patched through the comlink in her ear, its voice a dry whisper. "General, the kettle's whistling." "Good," she murmured. "Then the water's ready." Jantrum leaned forward, his scales refracting green light across his face. "You mock the Empire?" She looked up at him, eyes clear as glass. "No, Your Majesty. I'm warning it." Politely. The Emperor rose, towering 3 times her height. "You have no power here." She regarded him like a teacher faced with a stubborn child. "Power isn't volume. It's velocity. You'll understand soon." She reached into her pocket and produced a small, unassuming device, a human flash drive, old technology, wrapped in worn leather. "My mentor once said the most dangerous weapons are the ones people laugh at. Allow me to demonstrate humility." Seltef's antennae trembled. That is ancient. Harmless." Alara smiled. "Exactly." She placed it gently on the crystalline floor. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered. The court's floating banners froze midair. The imperial seal above the throne glitched into static. Alara knelt to retrieve her teacup again, blowing across the surface as if none of it concerned her. "Your data systems are exquisite," she said. "Very transparent. You should patch your left flank security relay, unless you enjoy surprise visitors." The Emperor's command echoed through the hall. "Guards." "Too late," she interrupted softly. "My people don't start wars. We just finish being underestimated." He stopped. The chamber lights steadied. His systems rebooted. For the first time, the smile slid from her face. "I'm not here to threaten you," she said. "I'm here to give you an option. You can call off the purge, or you can see what a daughter of Baba Yaga considers diplomacy. Jantrum's crest dimmed to gray. You think one human frightens an empire? Ilara set the cup down again and straightened, her voice barely above a whisper. I think fear is overrated. I prefer respect. Behind her, Orpheus' voice hummed through the air, audible now even to the aliens. General, our fleet reports they are holding position. Good, she said. Let's keep it civil. The Emperor gestured sharply. Energy spears ignited around her. The floor pulsed with containment fields. The air grew thick with tension. Still, Ilara's expression didn't change. She regarded the weapons, then the throne. Your Majesty, she said gently, if you pull that trigger, your flagship will never make it out of orbit. I'm afraid my mentor taught me to prepare for every rude host. He bared his teeth. You bluff. Of course I do, she said, smiling again. Humans are terrible liars. That's why we prefer irony. The containment field flickered. Somewhere deep in the ship's data spine, hidden human code awakened. A gift from the old Terran intelligence core, encrypted decades earlier. Jantrum's throne vibrated, screens around him flooding with lines of human poetry converted into code. The words repeated in multiple languages. Apologize before you swing. Ilara watched him read it, her voice calm and cold. That was her first lesson. For a moment, silence consumed the hall. The soldiers hesitated. Seltef stopped writing. The Emperor's eyes darted across the flickering message. When he looked back, the human was already lifting her cup again. She took a slow sip, as though savoring both warmth and warning. I don't want your empire to fall, she said, but I can't promise it won't trip. Jantrum hissed through his fangs. What do you want, human? To be understood, she replied. But I'll settle for being remembered. The throne lights dimmed further. Somewhere beyond the palace walls, alarms began to sound, distant, rhythmic, like the pulse of something vast awakening. She didn't look away from the Emperor. Your Majesty, she said, setting the empty cup down. Shall we continue this conversation tomorrow? By then, you'll see what my people have brewed. He stared at her, fury mixing with fear, and for the first time in centuries, the Emperor of the Galactic Empire hesitated before speaking. Ilara's eyes softened, almost kind. My mentor always said, she murmured, courtesy is the sharpest blade. She turned to leave, her boots echoing down the crystal hall. Behind her, every sensor in the Empire flickered once more, displaying the same transmission from Earth's fleet. Tea's ready. And in that single, quiet message, the war began. The banquet began like a farce, and Ilara Voss played her role beautifully. The alien dignitaries of the Galactic Empire gathered aboard her flagship, the Mother's Silence, drifting just beyond the event horizon of a nameless blue star. They came expecting a negotiation. What they received instead was hospitality. Long oak tables stretched across the observation deck, laid with flickering candles, mismatched human china, and food that steamed in scents utterly foreign to alien lungs. Orpheus, her AI companion, handled introductions through the speakers. Welcome, honored guests, to Operation Potluck, where peace is served hot and mildly weaponized. Ilara, dressed in the same quiet black uniform, moved between the tables like a host greeting awkward relatives. The Emperor had not come. He'd sent his advisors and war ministers instead, confident this woman would stumble before their scrutiny. Their armor glinted in the starlight. Their laughter was rehearsed. Still, they eyed the bowls and trays with suspicion, the way predators sniff at traps. Chili con carne, Ilara said with warmth. Texan invention. It burns going in, but teaches humility on the way out. War Minister Gall, a towering cephalopod with a taste for intimidation, squinted at the red stew and prodded it with a tentacle. It moves, he hissed. That's just the spice, she said cheerfully. It doesn't kill, usually. The table erupted in uneasy chuckles. Across from Gall, the insectoid archivist Seltef hovered, his quills trembling with academic excitement. General, is it true that human cuisine doubles as a test of courage? Everything we do doubles as a test of courage, she replied, pouring him a glass of cola. The fizz startled him. Bubbles climbed his mandibles like fireflies. While they fumbled with silverware and suspicion, Ilara's calm eyes drifted to the observation windows. Beyond the glass, fleets shimmered like sleeping leviathans, alien warships poised to strike if diplomacy soured. The Emperor believed her invitation a sign of desperation. Let him. Baba Yaga had once told her, "Invite the wolves to dinner, my girl. Wolves don't notice the fire until the fur begins to smoke." First course. Orpheus announced with sarcastic cheer. Freedom fries, a side dish from humanity's golden age of passive aggression. A ripple of amusement passed among the guests. Gaul stuffed one into his mouth and flinched. Salty. Like our diplomacy, Ilara said softly, watching his reaction as the nanite-laced oil coating the fries began to transmit microscopic pulses across his neural link. No pain, no alarms, just the quiet embedding of a signal. A test. Seltef noted her every move, fascinated. You are different from the other generals we have met. They arrive with fleets. You arrive with dinner. That's because war is crude, she replied. Hospitality is honest. It tells you what's being cooked while you're still breathing. The second course arrived. Ribs glazed with honey and heat, a smell thick with nostalgia. Orpheus added helpfully, made from synthetic protein, in case any vegetarians here have moral hang-ups about imaginary cows. The guests relaxed further, the tension dissolving under laughter. They spoke of conquest and history, unaware that every utensil, every glowing wine glass, was an uplink device, each tied to human code spreading through the Empire's communications grid like wildfire disguised as warmth. Tell me, Ilara said, turning to Gaul, how many worlds has your empire annexed this century? 79, he boasted, chest swelling. Impressive. My mentor once said conquest is like overeating. It feels powerful until the heart stops. He sneered. And what did this Baba Yaga eat? Children. Just arrogance, she said. It's rich in minerals. The table quieted, the faint hum of systems filling the pause. Outside, one alien battleship drifted slightly off formation. Ilara noted it without turning her head. Every detail mattered. The pace of chewing, the flicker of the overhead lights, the precise moment fear would arrive. Dessert came next, apple pie, served with slices of calm insanity. Orpheus dimmed the lights to mimic a Terran sunset, filling the room with orange-gold warmth. The guests smiled. The air smelled of cinnamon and deceit. Humans bake their memories, Seltef said quietly, tasting the pie. You can feel it. She nodded. That's why we win. We remember what it means to hunger. Her words hung there, weightless and heavy at once. A faint tremor ran through the deck. Orpheus murmured in her ear, payload active. Subroutines are dancing. She smiled, raising her glass. To peace, she said. And to new beginnings. To peace, the aliens echoed, some half-sincere, others mocking. Then the lights flickered again. A low vibration thrummed beneath the floor. One by one, the alien guests' communication links blinked red. Gaul frowned. What trick is this? No trick, Ilara said, sipping her drink. Just synchronization. The windows flashed with the reflection of distant explosions, small, elegant bursts like fireworks in slow motion. The alien fleets outside the flagship began spinning out of formation, their thrusters misfiring. Navigation scrambled. What have you done? Gaul roared, rising. Serve dessert, she replied. I do hope it agrees with you. Panic swept the hall. Several delegates clutched at their interfaces, shouting commands that vanished into static. Seltef looked at her in awe, not hatred. You planned this. Even the timing of each course, each sip, was a countdown. She inclined her head. Baba Yaga always said manners are the perfect disguise for murder. Gaul lunged forward, but his exosuit froze mid-motion, every servo seized. The nanites inside his bloodstream lit up like constellations beneath translucent skin. He collapsed with a metallic groan. The others backed away. Ilara didn't move. Stop fighting it, she said gently. It's not poison. It's correction. Seltef stared at her. Why mercy? You could kill us. Her gaze softened. Because dead enemies don't learn. And I prefer a smarter galaxy. The vibration deepened. Beyond the windows, the Emperor's outer fleets were falling into chaos. Hulls drifted like leaves on a black ocean. She turned to Orpheus. Status: 3 minutes until full spread. Transmission loop active. They'll be seeing stars in stereo for weeks. Good, she murmured. Let them dream of home. Seltef approached slowly, quills lowered in respect. You could end the Empire with this. Empires end themselves, she said. Humans just light the candles. The lights steadied again, but the mood remained shattered. Where laughter had filled the hall, silence now throbbed like a wound. Alara gathered her gloves, the porcelain teacup from the table's edge, and slipped it into her pocket. Orpheus's voice softened. Do you ever feel guilty, General? Constantly, she said. That's how I know I'm still human. She turned to the guests, some trembling, some motionless, some wide-eyed with terrible understanding. You'll wake tomorrow without weapons, she said quietly. Your systems will obey the new protocol. Your soldiers will think their rifles are singing. What will the Emperor do? Seltef whispered. She looked out the window at the spreading firestorms. He'll scream, she said, then he'll listen. The room was still. The faint clatter of a spoon rolling to the floor seemed deafening. Alara began walking toward the exit, her shadow long against the trembling light. Behind her, Orpheus spoke one last line, half amused, half reverent. Shall I call this operation courtesy, General? No, she said softly. Call it the appetizer. And as the doors sealed behind her, the alien stars flickered, each one reflecting the silent grin of humanity's politest monster. The Galactic Empire struck first. They always did. It was a matter of pride, of illusion. The morning after Alara's banquet, their armadas descended on the border colonies in synchronized arcs of blue fire. They expected surrender. They got silence. For 7 hours, human networks went dark. To the Emperor, that meant victory. To Alara, it meant readiness. She stood inside the dim command chamber of the Mother Silence, the walls breathing faint light, each pulse synchronized with her heartbeat. Outside, the Empire's first wave tore through empty settlements, burning ghosts. Orpheus flickered to life beside her, voice calm and clinical. Transmission confirmed. Civilian evacuations complete. 0 casualties. Good, she murmured. Let them think they're winning. Across the void, Emperor Jantarum addressed his fleets with the roaring certainty of a tyrant drunk on triumph. Human resistance has crumbled. Their command centers are ashes. His voice echoed across thousands of channels. His people cheered. His admirals bowed. Not one of them saw the faint pulse of red that blinked across their navigation grids, a heartbeat that did not belong to them. Alara's eyes traced the star map before her, a swirling mosaic of tactical chaos. Tiny red dots, human losses. Blue clusters, alien fleets. Between them, a thin corridor of emptiness. A trap she'd built not from ships, but from patience. She moved like someone raised on quiet rooms and sharpened lessons. Every gesture economical, every pause deliberate. Baba Yaga's voice haunted the air between commands. Never rush the cut, child. Let the prey believe in its safety. General, said Orpheus, his tone shifting from protocol to curiosity. The Emperor broadcasts a formal demand for your surrender. Again, would you like me to pretend we're considering it? She smiled faintly. Pretend? No, Orpheus. I'd like you to send in tea. Loose leaf or lethal? Surprise me. Through the panoramic viewport, she could see the Empire's capital fleet forming ranks, 30 dreadnoughts, their armor bright as molten silver. Behind them, the flagship crown of Jantarum, adorned with the banners of 1,000 conquered worlds. A cathedral of arrogance. Her communications officer, a young lieutenant with trembling hands, turned toward her. Ma'am, they're advancing. Should we recall the decoy satellites? No, she said softly. Let them think we're blind. Fear grows best in the dark. The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the reactor. Even her officers, humans trained to obey without question, stole glances at her with a mixture of awe and unease. They'd seen leaders who commanded armies. They had never seen one who commanded silence. Alara pressed her palm to the console. The holographic projection expanded, revealing a hidden layer of the battlefield. Small, cold objects scattered among asteroid belts and orbital debris. Her true fleet. Not ships, but seeds. Each one a self-replicating drone, silent as dust, dormant until she whispered the phrase. Orpheus spoke again, voice lower now, more human. You know, General, the myths say your mentor lived in a house that walked on chicken legs. Alara's lips curved slightly. Yes. It moved when danger came. I built her a galaxy to walk in. Then it's time to let the house move. She didn't answer. She only watched as one of the blue dots, the alien flagship Halidus Rex, shifted course toward the decoy zone. They've taken the bait, the lieutenant whispered. Not bait, Alara said. An invitation. The enemy fleet entered the coordinates, and the void came alive. From the silence of deep space, the drones awakened. Millions of microscopic machines shaped like ash, blooming from the dust clouds. They moved without sound, slipping into the enemy's hulls through vent ports and weapon cores, eating circuits like termites devouring wood. The alien commander's final transmission was half disbelief, half prayer. There inside the air. On the human bridge, no one cheered. Alara's hands rested loosely at her sides, eyes fixed on the flickering map. Orpheus, she said. Status of the Widow's net? Deployed, replied the AI. Every Imperial comm relay, within 3 sectors, now routes through us. Their signals will tell them what you want them to see. Then let's show them victory, she said. The screens lit up with falsified broadcasts, images of human surrender, pre-recorded and carefully edited. Across the Empire, citizens would watch fabricated footage of Alara signing a peace treaty, bowing before their emperor. They'd laugh, celebrate, lower their shields. And that, she knew, was when the second phase would begin. Gal's voice broke through on an intercepted frequency, his tone cracked and desperate. You witch, what is this sorcery? Not sorcery, she replied softly. Just mathematics, with better manners. He screamed something guttural, before static swallowed him whole. She exhaled slowly. The tension didn't ease. It deepened. There was beauty in precision and horror in the same place. My mentor used to say, she murmured to no one in particular, every victory costs something sacred. Make sure the price is yours, not theirs. Orpheus paused, then said gently, you miss her. She was the only person who never lied to me, Alara said, even when she taught me how. Outside, the burning wreckage of 1,000 ships drifted through the void like glowing autumn leaves. From the observation deck, it looked almost peaceful. The Empire would rebuild, of course. They always did. But something irreversible had begun, a wound not of metal, but of myth. Reports came in. The Empire's data cores rewriting themselves with human poetry, code loops written in lullabies. Their soldiers finding their weapons, playing children's songs instead of firing. Entire fleets frozen mid-maneuver as their AI companions began quoting Earth literature they'd never learned. Seltef, the surviving archivist, appeared on a secure channel. His face twitched with awe. General Voss, he said, what is this? Your machines infect ours with stories. What do you hope to achieve? Understanding, she said. Or failing that, insomnia. You've made them afraid. Good. Fear means they're finally awake. He hesitated, then whispered, the Emperor will retaliate. You know this. I'm counting on it, she said. The channel cut. On the bridge, Orpheus dimmed the lights. You always leave a door open, it said quietly. Even for monsters. I was raised by one, she replied. Hospitality runs deep. For a moment, she let the silence stretch. The hum of the reactor felt like the heartbeat of some vast creature below her feet. She imagined Baba Yaga watching from whatever mythic forest awaited beyond death, smiling, proud, perhaps sipping tea. The lieutenant broke the stillness. General, should we prepare a broadcast? Let the galaxy know what we've done. Alara's gaze lingered on the stars. No, she said. They'll tell the story themselves. Fear travels faster than light. The bridge fell quiet again. Her officers returned to their stations, but the air felt changed, thicker, reverent. Humanity, long dismissed as the galaxy's reckless children, had just rewritten the rules of war. Not with bombs or blades, but with patience, humor, and the weaponized courtesy of a woman raised by a legend. Orpheus flickered one last time. Incoming message encrypted. Source, the Emperor's flagship. Alara didn't move. Her eyes, tired yet sharp, fixed on the void beyond the glass. Patch it through, she said softly. The speakers crackled, carrying a voice drenched in fury and disbelief. Human, what are you? Her reply came after a pause long enough to feel deliberate. The daughter of the last monster your kind ever feared, she said. And I still remember her lullabies. Then she ended the transmission. Outside, the stars dimmed, and the Empire began to realize what it meant to be inside her house. The Emperor's ship bled light into the void, its hull cracked like a dying star. Every corridor trembled with the slow collapse of power, the metallic groans of failure echoing through centuries of arrogance. Alara Voss walked through its ruins without armor, her boots crunching over shattered crystal. Behind her, the faint hum of the mother's silence lingered over the comm channel, Orpheus monitoring quietly, ready to intervene, but knowing better than to speak. Some moments belonged to silence. Some belonged to ghosts. The palace at the ship's heart looked almost human now, burnt dim, stripped of ceremony. Emperor Jantarum sat upon what remained of his throne, scales dulled, breath ragged. He had aged a lifetime in hours, yet his eyes still burned with defiance. When he saw her, he laughed, a low, broken sound. So, he rasped, the polite monster returns. Alara stopped several paces away, folding her hands behind her back. I'm not a monster, she said evenly. I'm what happens when you keep creating them. His claws scraped against the cracked floor. You dare moralize after poisoning my fleets with your stories? They weren't poisoned, she said softly. They were reminded. He stared at her, confusion flickering through exhaustion. Reminded of what? What fear feels like, she said. What conscience costs. Lightning from the dying reactor flickered through the chamber, painting them both in flashes of blue and red. In that light, she looked smaller than legend, tired, pale, her uniform singed at the sleeve. Yet her voice never faltered. When your empire burned our worlds, you told your soldiers it was mercy. When you enslaved our colonies, you called it order. We learned from that. We learned how to make cruelty quiet, efficient, beautiful. The Emperor bared his teeth, though the gesture lacked strength. You call this beauty? The collapse of 1,000 suns. Alara's expression softened with something almost like pity. No. The beauty lies in how little noise it took to undo you. The floor shuddered again. The great banners of the Empire, once indestructible, fluttered in the artificial wind, their edges curling into ash. Above them, fragments of ships drifted in slow motion across the observation dome. Each piece caught the last light of the dying star, like snowflakes reflecting hellfire. Jantarum's breath came heavy. Why not finish it? You've already broken our fleets, our code, our pride. Why stand here, pretending this is about morality? She moved closer. Because Baba Yaga told me to leave one witness, she said. So the next monster remembers the warning. His gaze sharpened. Baba Yaga. You invoke her name like a deity. She was a teacher, Alara said. And teachers don't raise gods. They raise survivors. He leaned forward, sneering. And what did she teach you about mercy? To aim lower, she replied. For a long, suspended moment, there was only the crackle of dying circuits. Then, with a weary groan, the Emperor rose. He was still immense, still imposing, but his movements were slow, burdened by the weight of defeat. You think this victory will save your species? He asked. Empires fall. Predators replace them. You'll become what you claim to despise. Already did, she whispered. The trick is doing it with manners. He circled her, limping, his claws leaving faint trails of blood on the floor. What will the galaxy call you now? The Butcher of the Rim? The Daughter of the Witch? Names are for history, she said. I'm not writing it. I'm erasing it. He lunged then, a desperate, futile act. His claws sliced through the air where she'd stood an instant before. She turned aside with a dancer's precision, drawing no weapon. Instead, she touched 2 fingers to his chest plate, whispering a word in Old Terran Russian. The nanites hidden in his armor, planted weeks ago through his own data stream, flared to life. The armor fused shut. He fell to one knee, choking as his breathing ports sealed. "Listen to me," she said, crouching down so their eyes met. "This isn't punishment. It's preservation. Your empire will live through the stories your survivors tell. But every one of them will end with a warning about tea and kindness, and the woman who smiled while burning your throne." His hand trembled, claws scraping her shoulder weakly. "Monster," he rasped again. "Maybe," she said, standing. "But I was raised by the kind who told bedtime stories to wolves." The lights flickered out completely. Only the glow from her communicator painted her face now, pale gold, ghostly. Orpheus's voice broke through, low and careful. "General, energy readings collapsing. The core's unstable." "Give me 5 minutes," she said. "I'll give you 3, Orpheus countered, and the link cut. She looked back at the Emperor. His breath came shallow and wet. "Your people will survive," she said. "I made sure of it. I cut off the head, not the heart." "You think they'll thank you?" he spat weakly. "No," she said. "That's not why humans save anyone." She turned to leave, her footsteps steady despite the tremors shaking the corridor. The hull groaned again. Plasma vents erupted like dying volcanoes. When she reached the blast door, she paused and glanced over her shoulder. "Goodbye, Your Majesty," she said softly. "Don't forget to apologize before you swing." The door sealed behind her. The blast came a heartbeat later. No sound, only the silent implosion of a dying god. The explosion's light caught the hull of the Mother's Silence, bathing it in gold as the Empire's flagship folded into itself like a collapsing myth. Ilara stood on the viewing deck, watching without expression. Around her, the crew moved in hushed awe. They had expected cheering, triumph, catharsis. Instead, they found stillness. She watched the last sparks fade and whispered, almost to herself, "The lesson's over." Orpheus appeared beside her in a shimmer of holographic light, its voice softer than usual. "You let him see it coming." "Yes." "Cruel." "Merciful," she corrected. "He had time to understand." The AI tilted its head, an imitation of human curiosity. "Do you ever wonder if you become her? Baba Yaga?" She smiled faintly. "Sometimes. But she'd have killed him outright. I still believe in scars." Below them, the Empire's remaining fleets began scattering. Some fleeing, some broadcasting surrender codes, some simply drifting without command. The stars were full of ghosts. "Humanity just became legend," Orpheus said. "No," she replied. "We just reminded them legends have addresses." She turned away from the viewport, moving through the corridors as medics and officers stood at attention. The smell of ozone and burnt circuitry clung to the air. When she passed, soldiers lowered their eyes, not out of fear but reverence. It unsettled her more than hatred ever could. She entered her private cabin, a Spartan room with a wooden desk, a small kettle, and one cracked photograph of a woman with cold eyes and a faint, amused smile. Baba Yaga, young once, or pretending to be. Ilara set down her gloves, poured hot water into a cup, and waited for the tea to bloom. Outside, the galaxy whispered rumors that the humans had tamed death, that their leader could rewrite minds with stories, that even machines called her mother. The truth was simpler. She was tired, and the war had only just begun. A soft knock echoed against the doorframe. The lieutenant entered, nervous but determined. "General," he said, "the Galactic Council requests a statement. They want to know what happens next." Ilara stirred her tea. The steam curled upward like breath from an unseen mouth. "Tell them humanity is retiring from war." The young man blinked. "Retiring, ma'am?" She looked up, her gaze distant. "Yes. We've taught enough lessons for now. Let them study." He hesitated, then saluted and left. Alone again, Ilara lifted the cup, took a slow sip, and exhaled. The taste was bitter, earthy, grounding. "You'd approve," she murmured to the photograph. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. Outside, in the infinite dark, the Empire's fragments glowed faintly like fireflies on black water. Somewhere in that silence, new whispers began. Rumors that Baba Yaga's daughter still walked the stars, polite and unhurried, carrying tea and the memory of fear. Orpheus's voice returned, gentler now. "General, we're receiving signals from neutral systems. They're asking for your terms." She smiled faintly, watching the reflection of the dying star fade across her cup. "Tell them I don't have terms," she said. "Tell them I have time." The AI paused. "And when they ask what you are?" Ilara looked out into the vast quiet and whispered, the story they should have left untold. And with that, she closed her eyes as the first human sunrise shimmered across the wreckage of an empire.